hello. Are you ready to hear some exciting stories about Thomas the Tank Engine? Great. Well, there's never a dull moment on Sodor, mainly because we get a lot of new faces. And our first story is called The Steam Crane.
Judy and Jerome are the breakdown cranes of Sodor. They are strong, determined, cooperative, and very trustworthy.
But in recent months, they have been having some major mechanical issues.
"You're showing signs of your age," said the Fat Controller. "You did very well to keep working for this long, but it is clear that you need some help." And so next week, a new crane was brought to the docks. When the two cranes saw it, they saw a monster of a machine. It was gigantic and red, and it had a small funnel. "This is a steam crane," the Fat Controller explained. "Its crane arm is powered by steam, so it can lift much larger things at a time." "That crane is literally a pistonless Harvey," claimed Gordon. "Its massive cab will only get in the way." Judy and Jerome had to agree with Gordon. "What a newfangled nonsense!"
What's that?
asked Judy. "A newfangled nonsense is something new that wasn't meant to be built in the first place."
That's enough, exclaimed Edward. He wouldn't have bought it if he wasn't useful at something. Now, I need to take Judy and Jerome to help Murdoch. The two old cranes heard this, and as Edward pulled them past the crane, they smiled at him smartly. "We don't need your help. We can get an engine off the tracks with our own two hooks," said Jerome. "We don't need another one. Newfangled nonsense."
Meanwhile, Henry was pulling a train of trucks full of lead pipes. He was headed to a junction where another train was coming. Thomas and Emily were on the opposite track, but they should have known that the points were set against them, taking them onto Henry's line. If the signalman wasn't sleeping, he could have prevented a nasty... Henry's trucks collapsed, and pipes fell on the tracks. "Now why were these broken trucks coupled onto me?" asked Henry. "That was our fault," said Thomas. "I forgot to warn the workmen about the faulty trucks." "This wouldn't have happened if you weren't focused on getting the job over with, Thomas," said Emily from behind him. "Excuse me, this wouldn't have happened if..." Before they could say anything else, Murdoch was running light engine on the third track towards the pipes. When he saw the wreckage, he applied his brakes too late. "Botheration!" cried Henry. "All three tracks on the main line blocked! What a time to be alive! How can things get any worse?" Then Edward arrived with Judy and Jerome. "Oh, never mind." The cranes tried their best, but with the way the engines were sprawled across the tracks, not even one crane could properly lift one engine. "Do we have to get the newfangled nonsense?" "I'm afraid so, Judy," said Edward. "He's the strongest crane we have now." So, a passing bear received the message to take the crane to help. Rocky arrived at the wreckage in double quick time, and he lifted the pipes with all the strength he had. Then he lifted the engines. Thomas and Emily were really impressed. And so were Judy and Jerome, to be honest. It was clear to Judy and Jerome that Murdoch was as light as a feather for Rocky. "Thank you for helping us, Please, call me Rocky. That's what my crew called me." "Well, it suits you," said Jerome. "We're sorry we were rude to you." "If you aren't going to be sharing our job," added Judy, "you'll be a great help."
What a lovely story. Now, our next story is about a very young tank engine called Rosie. She can be a bit of a nuisance to Thomas without meaning to. How so? Well, let's find out.
At springtime, Thomas would travel down the line from Marron to High Farm, a farm especially used for producing the best meats in the west side of Sodor. Thomas would pull a stopping passenger train from his junction to Marron and then take High Farm's general produce to the town at the junction stations on the way back. Percy had been the main goods engine on Thomas's branch line for many years, but he recently felt quite overworked. Once one ship at the harbour was gone, leaving unbelievable tons of goods, another ship came in ready to leave their loads to Percy.
"Luckily for you," said the Fat Controller, "I've bought a new engine especially to work at the harbour and leave you to work elsewhere. And she should be coming now."
And almost on cue, a high-pitched whistle tooted in the distance, and a red tank engine arrived in the station.
"Hello,"
the engine said to Thomas with a broad smile.
"You must be Thomas."
"Yes," replied Thomas. He found the engine quite welcoming.
"I'm Rosie. I've heard a lot about you, and I love hearing all about your adventures."
"Thank you," answered Thomas. As they puffed along, Rosie stared at him with the same broad, still smile. She wouldn't stop asking questions. Thomas was finding it all quite annoying. By midday, Thomas had to stop to take care of other jobs, and Thomas rushed away, smiling with relief. Thomas didn't like Rosie asking so many questions. He knew asking questions was part of learning, but it felt like Rosie wanted to know all there is to know about him, not her job. He didn't feel comfortable about that. So, he spoke to the Fat Controller at the junction.
"She's a young engine, Thomas. You know what engines her age are like."
"But sir..."
"She just needs to get used to working here. Percy needs a harbour shunter, and Rosie's class fits the bill. She was the best deal I could get."
As much as Thomas didn't like it, he decided to be content. Late that afternoon, Thomas was waiting at Marron to collect some farm supplies for High Farm, when Harold whooshed in with a warning.
"There have been warnings of a landslide near the hills, so be careful on the way to High Farm."
"No worries, Harold," replied Thomas as Harold buzzed away. "Storms don't bother me."
"Oh, me?"
"Why are you still following me?" asked Thomas.
"I was told you needed my help with the next job."
"I was never told about this," said Thomas. All the same, Thomas departed, and Rosie followed him cheekily. With an anxious glance, Thomas tried to go as fast as he could. Thomas tried to ignore Rosie, hoping she would give up, but Rosie would press on or pop a piston trying. Thomas and his crew were so worried about Rosie that they didn't notice that a lazy signalman was leaning on the switch that directed them onto the wrong line. Too late, they realized they were going down an unfamiliar route. Out of nowhere, a monstrous landslide buried Thomas in soil, washed away from the hills.
"Rosie!"
called a voice. It was the Fat Controller.
"What are you doing chasing Thomas?"
he said crossly.
"You were meant to be at the harbour."
"She's been following me all the way to High Farm," answered Thomas. The Fat Controller stood in shock. Then he mopped his brow.
"Well, Rosie,"
said the Fat Controller,
"being a chatterbox is one thing, but starting another engine is not only procrastination on my railway, but very uncomfortable for the engine you start. You shall work at the harbour until I can trust you to work well with Thomas."
"Yes, sir,"
replied Rosie. And as she left, she let out a timid,
"Sorry, Thomas."
Thomas was too annoyed to reply. From that moment on, Rosie kept to herself. Whenever she tried to speak, she was cautious about how long she spoke for. The other engines were friendly to her, but they all followed Thomas's advice to not get too friendly towards Rosie.
Oh dear. Not a good first impression, is it? Well, let's hope that the next new arrival has better luck. Our next story is called Emily's Rubbish. Sodor's railway network was vastly developing. While nationalisation had come and gone, time seemed to have gone backwards for the Fat Controller's engines. More branch lines are being built, and more factories and industrial sites are relying on engines to help with shunting and transporting goods. One morning, Emily was taken to the works to meet one of several new engines to come. The Fat Controller had kept it a surprise, and when Emily arrived, she was surprised, but not in a good way. Next to her was a rubby green engine with only 2 driving wheels and huge round-lensed glasses. Oh, hello! You must be Emily. What's happened to you, William? Asked Emily, startled. My name's Whiff now, because I have gotten quite, degraded.
You know this engine?
Asked Victor. Edward told me a lot about him. He even showed me old pictures of him. He used to, but no matter, butted in Whiff, because you're going to help me collect some rubbish. Why are we collecting rubbish?
That's what I was about to tell you, said the Fat Controller. A new waste dump has been built to take care of Sodor's waste more efficiently. This will involve rubbish from the railway industry connected by, shockingly enough, rail. Whiff is going to be the shunter there, so I need you, Emily, to show him how.
And so the 2 engines left. All along the line, lots of engines laughed at the smelly new engine, and Emily never felt so embarrassed. When Emily and Whiff finally reached the waste dump, Emily saw bins, tips and skips, and smelt horrid odours as far as the nose could smell.
Right, if I have to shunt this, you've got to be kidding me.
She then saw Whiff biff a hopper truck full to the brim with plastic packaging. Some was forced out of the truck and fell on Whiff's face. Now Emily couldn't take it any longer. Disgraceful! The most disgraceful sight I've ever seen! Emily cried. Why would an engine who pulled a saloon carriage be comfortable with picking up rubbish? All eyes were on the 2 green engines.
Is that true, Whiff?
Asked a dump truck driver. It is, sighed Whiff. About a century ago, I pulled the private coach for the Earl of Sodor. I was given hospitality fit for a king, but not many people here might remember me, because some people didn't want to. They said I looked like a hunchback and that my face looked disgusting. I could have ignored them easily if they didn't call me the most awful names, or if the children didn't throw stones on me from bridges. The Earl, of course, wanted to keep me safe, so he offered to hide me in a shed. When I was found again, I wanted to get the chance to become a simpler engine. A simpler life was just what I needed. I found a job like shunting to be interesting. It must be fun to get dirty for a change, I thought. So, here I am. Emily was mesmerised. Well then, if you want to shunt, then the first thing you need to do is to not take any nonsense. As the trucks laughed at him, Whiff turned the other cheek and pushed them to the furthest side before the silly trucks could apply their brakes. Whiff learned fast, and Emily got used to getting dirty as she shunted with him. She even found it funny when she got a banana peel on her umpire. And she agrees that if William was happy being an average grimy shunter, then she was happy to call him her friend. Well now, I think it's about time we got back to Rosie, isn't it? Our next story is called Rosie's Funfair Special. Every summer, the Fat Controller hosts a funfair near a station on Thomas's branch line called Leich Waten. Leich was a content little station on Thomas's branch line, with a large, plain, but scenic field. Engines could puff past and watch the fun of the fair. It was especially fun for the engines because, when the fair came, one engine would be chosen to pull the special goods full of the funfair rides. Rosie was with all the engines at Stafford, wondering who would be pulling the special train. He ended up choosing Emily.
You would be pulling our wheels if you think a little tank engine like you can pull a huge train like that. I can be useful too, Emily. Can't I?
Rosie was beginning to doubt herself since her incident with the landslide. Why even work on the railway if she just focused on idolizing Thomas? Rosie sadly lost to the dogs. She had to help Salty put together plenty of trucks for being shipped far away, and she only felt worse when she saw Emily eagerly admiring the trucks of funfair rides. All was going well for Emily. Or so she thought. No one knew exactly how it happened. Perhaps the Shunters forgot to couple the carousel rides to the Ferris wheel parts. Anyhow, the last 5 trucks on Emily's train had not been properly coupled.
I'm not going to stay here and work. Emily's train is in 2 pieces.
Rosie whistled. She quickly got coupled up to the trucks and dashed off. She flew up Edward's branch line with her wheels in a blur. She saw Thomas at the last station on the line. Thomas saw her arrive too, and prepared for the worst. But to his surprise, Rosie ignored him. He saw Rosie puffing towards the nearest signal box, and her driver threw something towards it. Thomas couldn't understand what was happening, so he asked his crew to take him towards the signal box as he left to take his local passenger train back to his branch line. Peep, peep! What was Rosie doing?
Emily left some of the funfair rides behind and Rosie wants me to get Emily to stop.
Thomas was impressed, and he carried on to his branch line. The signalman didn't waste a minute. He passed the message on to the other signal boxes. The nearest one to Emily was outside a hay farm on Thomas's branch line, near where the line was divided to go to the harbour or the junction. The signalman couldn't get the message to stop Emily in time.
That's odd,
Rosie thought.
Emily should be stopping by now.
Then a familiar whistle sounded.
Is that Thomas?
Asked Rosie. This was Thomas. He saw Emily going at her normal speed and he rushed to her side. As quickly as he could, he called out, "Emily, onto your way, you left some of the funfair rides behind." Emily was dumbfounded, but all the same, the driver applied the brakes. He checked the back of her train.
"Jiminy crickets!"
exclaimed the driver. "We did leave our tail behind. Why didn't the signalman tell us?" That's when the signalman came around.
My block bell was not working, so I couldn't tell other signal boxes I got the message. It was impossible to fix.
Well, in any case, thanks for stopping me, Rosie. I don't know what I would have done without your help.
And with that, Rosie proudly shunted Emily's trucks onto the rest of her train, and Emily went on her way. The next day, the Fat Controller allowed Emily, Rosie, and Thomas to attend the fair after their last trains of the day. Thomas stood next to Rosie. At this time, he didn't mind, because from that day on, she had proved herself to be a credit to the Fat Controller's railway. Oh, well done to Rosie. Our next story is about an engine who isn't necessarily new. In fact, he's been around for a while. I wonder why we've never seen him before. Must be a really quiet engine. Well, anyway, this story is called Playtime. Every young engine loves to have fun at their jobs. Even the bigger engines like to play a game when there's nothing to do. But there was one engine who didn't know when enough was enough. Charlie was a purple shunting engine at Stafford. He usually keeps out of harm's way, unlike how he did on his first week. The only shunters at the time were Thomas, another blue tent engine called David, and a large green saddle tent named Caleb. They found life quite fun in their own little yard, playing jokes and tricks on the other bitter engines. But one day, Gordon found the perfect opportunity to bring them down a peg.
Guess what, lads? A new tank engine is on the island.
Oh, cool. You know what this means, lads. Time to commence Operation Wreck the Newcomer.
The engines on the mainland say he's the most fun engine ever. He pulls the best jokes around and doesn't need the help of two mindless lackeys to do it.
He's referring to you two. Well, never mind us, Gordon. We'll be sure to put him in his place if he gets big-headed.
With your tricks, no doubt. No, you can't push him into an old truck. No, you can't push him past into the beehives near the orchard and watch him get stung.
How did he know I was planning to?
No, you'll just have to stand his smack talk and show no response. Fat Controller's orders.
The three tank engines, even with their rebellious selves, knew what it meant to respect the Fat Controller's orders. So, they went off to the bit station where the engine would be waiting. Edward was pulling him in on a flatbed.
Hello, Sodor! Yes, no need for applause, I'm only a shunter.
Charlie, you're not performing here.
Oh, really? Then why are there engines here?
Charlie, these are the engines you will work with. Their names are...
Save the introductions, eh? You engines must be Thomas, Caleb, and David.
Why?
Asked David, as Charlie was lifted off his flatbed.
You heard of me. Us?
Sure have. The engines back in England say you three are more fun than me, but oh... Should imagine it must be so hard to be more fun than me with three engines. I can have the yard boom with laughter just going solo. Like, just listen. You ever tried going over 3 waypoints? Difficult, isn't it? I'm in conjunction to agree with you.
Well, that's not real comedy.
Oh, that one's just a warm-up. I've got a ton more, and they're irresistible.
And with that, Charlie and the other engines went off to the yard.
Oh, listen! There are some new sidings being built on the west of the yard, so be careful to not go flying into the freshly laid... Oh, never mind.
While the engines were going around the yards, passing engines laughed and laughed at Charlie's jokes. But Thomas, David and Caleb didn't get any of them.
That was explosive! So, remember the one time Scruffy was going with Oliver? He was torn apart about it! Bada bing, bada bing!
Then Charlie told them about his practical jokes.
One dark night, I got a shrieking 3-chime whistle and tooted it through some pipes. Another engine woke up and ran away screaming, think it was a bat screeching.
That sounds like an average wake-up call for us.
David was right, but he likes to have a sense of superiority, leading to him making himself out to be stronger and more likeable than he actually was.
Well, if that's the case, why don't you try a race? If you three can go from one end of the yard to the other before me, and without getting out of it to do work, you win!
We really shouldn't. Us tank engines can only go so fast.
Oh, is that right, Thomas? Is the big baby afraid of getting his boiler dented? Where? I'm going too fast, Gordon. My wheels are disintegrating.
All right, I'll do it.
That's just what I thought.
Did he just start the race?
Yes, and we're finishing it. Go on, boys, go.
And they were off. No tender engine had ever seen such a sight. The 4 tank engines were racing fit to burst.
I thought you said we would be racing to the other end of the yard.
Oh, did I? Oh, silly me. I meant to say we'd race to the next station.
Oh, it's on!
With no warning, David pulled Caleb and Thomas after him. Thomas and Caleb were so excited with the race, they forgot about their own jobs. Though it wasn't long before Caleb
Wow, what a tiny goods train. I feel sorry for the scrub who has to pull that. Oh, wait. That's... Oh. Sorry guys, I have to take a small goods train now.
Oh, come on, Caleb!
Sorry, David, duty calls. Go on without me.
Spoil sport.
Funny duddy.
At this point, David wanted to try anything to beat Charlie. The purple engine tricked David to think he went to the steamworks. David raced between buildings, staggered welders, and traveled into trucks. Charlie was so pleased with himself that he forgot to watch where he was going. And where he was going was some unfinished sidings. The workmen put up warning signs, but Charlie didn't see them. Neither his driver or pilot did see because Charlie was going at dangerous speed and they were trying to no avail to slow him down. Before they knew it, their engine came off the tracks.
Where did these sidings come from?
Hey, Edward, what's up?
Well, you see, on the way to the station, I passed these new sidings and told Charlie about it. I tried to tell you there, but you didn't listen. So maybe you lot need some teaching as well, eh?
And the giant plum on wheels falls hook, line, and sinker. You're so full of jokes you literally can't pay attention to anything around you.
And you are no different,
said an all too familiar voice. The fat controller caught the tank engine's red bucket.
We were only having fun. Can't you take a joke? Ow.
A joke is a joke, but when you're having fun when you should be doing your work, all you're doing is causing confusion and delay.
And cause confusion and delay you did.
Huh? Henry?
Did it not come to mind that you were pulling trucks?
Oh, you mean those cattle trucks for 10:30? Yes,
And what time is it?
Oh, I think it is
10:45.
So that's why that race felt like forever.
Thomas, David, and Caleb had to Shunter the far run down sidings for the rest of the week. They did not like working there at all. With no one in the yards, it felt rather dull. When Charlie got out of the shed, he had a new stance on work. Now Charlie's jokes are usually made to brighten an engine's day, and to get the trucks under control. He's like a lovable uncle, a true comedian, and a moral guardian to the younger and less experienced engines.
Hey guys, you want to hear a good joke? You how do you cut Roman have? You give up? You just use a pair of Caesars.
Really?
Boo!
No, sir. Didn't like it.
No, sir. He doesn't like it.
That was so terrible. I think you gave me...
Charlie, the balanced trucks can't take it. And, with all due respect, neither can I. But it doesn't mean he doesn't get a tough crowd sometimes. Now this next story is about someone you're sure to know. He's a really brave fire engine, and you're on roads and rails. And here's who he is. Well, there's really only one engine like him. So, this story is called Fiery Flynn. On the island of Sodor, accidents can happen a little too often. When this happens, the engine's set to work to help their friends in any emergency. However, this means that they must stop the job that they were in the middle of, which often makes them late. To stop this confusion and delay, the Fat Controller brought a new engine to the island. His name was Flynn, and he was a fire engine. He was fast and had water cannons. His job was to put out fires, especially engines on fire. However, due to this, when an engine wasn't on fire, which was often the case, he had nothing to do and would have to wait. One day, whilst he was waiting, Diesel purred up.
I don't know why the Fat Controller bought you. All you do is wait around. I do much more than that, Diesel.
Well, I haven't seen you do anything. Ever.
Flynn was upset and wanted to show Diesel just what he could do. He was thinking about this when suddenly the search and rescue manager shouted at him.
Flynn, you need to rescue a blue engine who is on fire!
The manager waited for the station masters to give him more details.
The blue engine is Thomas. Be sure to fill your water tanks before you go to him.
Flynn hadn't heard a word of what the manager had said.
I'll show you just how much I can do. Pa, I do nothing. I do a very important job. A blue engine's life is in danger.
And in a huff, Flynn drove as fast as he could. Eventually, Flynn saw Gordon. Sir Topham, Dowager and Lady Hat were all getting into the express.
Don't worry, Gordon. I've come to save you.
Excuse me?
Oh no, you've become delirious. Don't worry, you'll be okay once I rescue you.
Rescue me? I don't need rescuing.
Flynn fired his cannons all over and around Gordon, and some of the water soaked Dowager and Lady Hat who were in the express.
We was not expecting showers today.
Gordon!
Now I need rescuing.
Now, what is the meaning of all that? Oh, it was you, Flynn!
The Fat Controller was drenched from head to toe.
Thanks to you, me, my wife, and my mother are soaked! And my favourite suit jacket, too.
The only thing I need saving from is you. You've put out my fire that I need to run.
Sorry, Gordon. Must be a different blue engine that's on fire.
A different blue engine? But there's loads of them on this island! Oh, why does something bad always happen when my family comes to visit?
Eventually, Flynn found Thomas, and this time the engine was on fire.
Don't worry, Thomas. You'll be safe very soon.
Flynn went to put out the fire with his water cannons. But he had run out of water for them.
Now what do we do?
Flynn thought and thought. Then he had an idea.
Thomas, how much water do you have in your water tanks?
I've got a fair amount, but I don't see how that's important.
My driver can put the end of my water pipe into your tanks, and then I can use your water to save you.
And so Flynn's driver did just that. And finally, Flynn fired his cannon and put out the fire around Thomas.
Oh, thank you, Flynn.
I shouldn't be thanked, Thomas. I've been very silly today. I'm just glad you're safe.
After the pipe had been put back, Thomas got ready to move. But he couldn't move. His driver tried to give him more water, but his tanks were empty.
Oh no! Now I'll be stuck here!
Don't worry. I'll go and get someone who can take you to a water tower.
After a long time, Thomas could finally move on his own again. And Flynn returns to the search and rescue centre. His manager and the Fat Controller were waiting for him, and were very cross.
I'd have thought buying you would stop confusion and delay, but you've only made more of it! Because of you, James had to stop what he was doing and shunt Thomas home! And he wouldn't have needed to if you didn't waste all your water soaking Gordon and my family!
Whatever made you soak then?
You said a blue engine was on fire.
Maybe at first, but I then said which blue engine it was. And soaking Gordon shouldn't have emptied your water cannons. So you didn't fill up with water either, did you?
Flynn was sure he couldn't remember his manager saying this. When he saw Diesel pass by, then he realized why he hadn't heard the manager.
I'm sorry. I was arguing with Diesel and I rushed off, so I didn't hear anything you said.
Then you must make sure you listen to everything I tell you.
Suddenly the phone rang.
Please excuse me. Right, let's see if you've learned your lesson, shall we? After you've filled up with water, an engine is on fire.
The manager once again waited for more details, and this time Flynn waited too.
I'll tell him now. The engine is diesel.
Flynn was about to laugh when he saw the fat controller looking at him.
Right away, sir. And Diesel's about to learn a lesson too. Rusty engine to the rescue!
Help me! Please help me! I'm sorry, Atmosphere, just please stop your cannons!
As Diesel was crying, Flynn fired his cannons and this time they worked straight away. The fire was out in no time at all.
How was that for an engine who does nothing?
Diesel skulked away and didn't say anything at all.
Ah, well. He didn't say thank you, but I guess someone else could teach him manners. I've done my share of educating him.
And Flynn raced happily back to the search and rescue centre to wait for another emergency. Good to know he can be useful. Well, we're almost done for today, but there's still time for one more story. This one is about an electric engine. His name is Stafford. Stanley and Charlie loved working in their Shunter yard, but recently the yards were getting too busy for either of them to handle. Other small engines would help, but they couldn't do it all the time. Sometimes there would be no help at all. So the Fat Controller bought another new engine. The day he arrived, Thomas was free, so he could meet the newcomer.
Please welcome our new engine, Stafford!
Oh, well, nice to meet you.
Ah, just in time, Thomas. Come and meet Stafford, the electric engine.
Hello, Stafford. I'm Thomas.
Hello, Thomas.
I say, where are your wires?
Oh, Boko. Stafford is no regular electric engine.
He's right. I have a battery.
Oh, like those round things that my driver keeps for his radio?
Yes, something like that.
Very interesting. Well, come aboard my flatbed and I'll take you to your yard.
Oh yes, thank you, Boko. And with a smooth whirring, Stafford rolled onto the flatbed. As he was travelling along, he took in all the sights, smells and sounds of the vast countryside. He had not been on Sodor's rails since very early days, and he was excited taking in how big the island really was. It was like a whole new world. He could barely recognise Naphtha's yards when he finally arrived. A lot more engines were coming in and out of the station, and the yard itself seemed to be as big as the countryside.
So, what do you think?
Well, I certainly...
Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle! Isn't that Stafford? Where have you been, you little egghead? I haven't seen another egghead like you since I went to a battery farm. You get it? Because eggs are from
Yes, I get it, Charlie. I may have been a little brain bot.
Ah, he said it!
And while I did see you as quite, off the wall, shall we say, I quite missed your optimism in my little museum.
You were always a sweetheart. Well, let's put your wisdom to the test. We've got orders coming in non-stop today. Put your best axle forward.
And that's just what he did. All day long. He was quite quick for his size, and Stanley was having fun trying to race him. Stafford was overcome with a great rush of energy that kept him a reliable and punctual worker all day. To the average engine, it seemed this was evening before he finally caught his breath. Of course, this wasn't entirely true, but what he did catch was the main line. What a sight. I should think there's nothing better than flying along the line, seeing busy towns and green fields.
Well, we've got an engine with big aspirations, haven't we?
Hey, nothing could stop an engine from dreaming. Sometimes they do come true. A lot of small engines like us go beyond our usual work environment. Shunters like us running on the main line is the norm around here.
Ah, true. But remember, he has a battery. And do you know what happens to batteries? They run out.
What was that?
Oh, sorry, Stafford. Did you hear that? Oh, no offense, Stafford. It's just some things can't be helped. And that includes your short-living battery. There's no chance you'll get to go far from here.
Oh, I understand. Charlie meant well, but he still felt like he belittled the little engine. The next day, Stafford was shunted on his own when the yard manager arrived.
We need an engine to take a small train of supplies to Callendale Fishing Yard. Surprisingly, you are the only one available. Can you do it, please?
I'm on my way. Stafford went on his merry way, and he completed the job in record time. He went back to the yard feeling quite proud, but as he did so, he found himself running out of energy. What? Oh, I knew this was too good to last. Oh, I should have stayed in the yard. Spencer passed him and smirked with satisfaction.
It's alright, Stafford. Fuel shortage can happen to anyone. I heard that Borco's been leaking oil up the line for 15 minutes.
But my battery is only small. I should have known better than to wear it out. Oh, and worthless on mainline trains. Soon, Spencer met Harry at Vickerstown.
What's there to giggle about, private schoolgirl?
You wouldn't believe the electrics that Topham is buying these days. I just saw his latest purchase fail in the middle of the line.
Oh, you mean the old battery box in Knapford Yard? Why would he send that little one out on the main line?
Search me. Obviously he... What's so funny?
I'm sorry. It's just the way you two are going on. It seemed like you two are old friends.
We're not friends. We just...
We just share a common enemy.
Ah, yes. Thank you.
And Spencer went to fetch his next train. Soon the Vat Controller arrived.
Ah, Harry! Could you take this special wagon to Knapford, please?
Oh, I suppose. Got nothing better to do.
When Eric got to the right platform, he saw what looked like a small machine. Meanwhile, Spencer was caught up in his own elegance. When he has one of these moments, the last place he looks is the track. His driver and fireman were focused on taking him as fast as allowed around to the other side of the station. Harry left the station going pretty slow, but not for long. Spencer was rocketing down the line with Harry and his unusual load in front of him.
Ah! What in the blazes are you doing?
What am I doing? What are you doing with a random truck? hoping I'd crush it to bits. Sounds like the sort of thing you do.
Oil spill ahead, tin kettle.
Ah!
Sorry.
It was pure coincidence that Stafford happened to be on the line in front of them. The force took the two small engines through Knapford and all the way to Edward Station, where Stafford found it was easy to apply his brakes.
Where are we?
Far from home, that's for sure. And how did...
Shut up, old iron.
Well done, Stafford. I've seen your heroism and heard all about your work ethic. It's clear that you have ambition, but you need more energy for longer journeys. That's why we've brought you this.
Stafford backed down and saw the long, sleek black tender.
This is a battery tender. It will help you go for long distances without stopping to recharge.
Oh, thank you, sir. This is the best gift ever. I owe you.
I'm glad you think so. Off to the yard with you then. I'll see if I can save you a mixed goods later.
Now Stafford is as happy as can be. He loves shunting, but he most enjoys going out on the main line with the wind in his face and meeting his many friends.